Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. If you guys didn't know, the Air Superiority dev server is finally here. When I say finally, I mean it was pretty damn quick between when the first dev blog came out and now, but here we are with the dev server, and in this video, I will be going over every vehicle in the dev server, showing you what to expect in the Air Superiority update. There are some vehicles that are not appearing in the dev server, but were mentioned in the dev stream, so if I remember them, I will definitely mention them, one of them being the JAS 37C for the UK. That's right, the UK will be getting a Gripen. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and start with the US Aviation, and we'll move from there. And as you can see, we are getting the F-15A. That's right, the US will get the F-15. Now, in theory, this will be the worst F-15 in game. There are 3 different F-15s, including this one. We do not yet have Box 3s, but we do have access to up to 4 AIM-9Ms, and of course AIM-7Ms, and a whole bunch of bombs as well. And when this is fully spaded, it will have over a 300 meter per second rate of climb, which I will be doing a gameplay for this once I get the fully spaded variant. As a content creator, they do give us those, but unfortunately, that is all that we are seeing for now, at least for US Aviation. Now, there is going to be a US ground vehicle that is actually a few US ground vehicles that are being added. First, we are getting the M1A1HC clickbait. This will be a premium rank 7 battle rating 11.3. And bear in mind, everything you see on the dev server is up for change, so it's not like everything that you see here, even including the stats on the F-15A, are going to stay the same. Heck, they might even increase the top BR. They might say 12.7 BR is going to be the new top BR for air. But anyways, we have the M1A2 SEP V2. Of course, that goes after the standard SEP that we have here, so it is pretty cool. And basically, the major difference that you are seeing here is going to be the improved armor, the Arad ERA, which is definitely very, very nice and will improve survivability pretty much all along the side of this vehicle. Of course, it will weigh a bit more, but definitely a more survivable vehicle. Plus, I think it has an additional mounting on top as well. Now, of course, when it comes to Naval, and again, I'll go over everything in the dev server so long as I can, USS Roanoke is coming. It's a light cruiser, not really something I'm sure a lot of people want, but it is a mod 1949, which is pretty interesting, so it might be a little bit more effective than a lot of similar BR vehicles, at least insofar as anti-aircraft is concerned. Now, Germany's not getting all too much. They are getting the Leopard 2A7V, which is really cool in my opinion. This will be the top dog in the German ground forces tech tree. As you can see here, the 2A6 has the Rheinmetall 120 L55. This has the L55A1, so it is a little bit different. It has the same shells, though. I think it's got better thermals, if I'm not mistaken, and it does have additional mine protection. Otherwise, very, very similar vehicle, and as you can tell, the thermal, or the texture isn't quite there yet. But it's a very similar vehicle to the 2A6, at least insofar as functionality in War Thunder is concerned. As far as I could tell, they're not getting anything outside of the Tornado IDS WTD 61, which is, if I'm not mistaken, pretty damn similar to the IDS MFG. So a lot of people want to know, what does this have? It doesn't have Cormoran missiles. It doesn't have anything. It only has 2 AIM-9Ls, and you have flare and chaff pods that you have to equip if you want flare and chaff. It's not too bad because, of course, they are not occupying anything being used by anything else, but bear that in mind. This is, at least thus far, the preliminary loadout that you can get. Technically speaking, the IDS MFG is a little bit more capable than this insofar as the fact that it does have anti-shipping missiles. Very unfortunate, but you know, if you want that instead of the Lazar M, which I probably wouldn't recommend, but I'll do a review on this when it comes out, you know, you can definitely get it. It's kind of like a strike aircraft. This is more of a fighter, obviously. Now, for Russia, we are getting the new T-90M. This will be the highest BR vehicle in the Russian ground forces tech tree, alongside the T-80 BVM and Pantsir S1. This will have pretty much just a new armor, I guess you could say, the Relict armor specifically. As you can see, go to this, and it is the Relict ERA. It is substantially more effective. It also has a welded turret, which does make it a bit better insofar as weak spots are concerned, and overall it's just a more effective vehicle. You have, I believe, Gen 3 thermals as well, and it will have a more powerful engine up to around 1130 horsepower at the end of the day. Now, it will not have anything better than 3PM60. That looks like it'll be the top shell for the Russians for the time being. It just doesn't appear as though there's any replacement therein. And then finally, for the Russian Air, we have the Su-27, something a lot of people have been wanting for a very, very long time. Look how beautiful this aircraft is. It is absolutely gigantic. Very cool aircraft, in my opinion. And I believe it has helmet-mounted display, if I'm not... Yes, it does. HMD. Now, the American F-15A will not have HMD, so bear that in mind. Now, this will be able to have up to 10 missiles at any given time. So as you can see, you have 2 here, 3 here, that's 5 on each side, 10 missiles, along with R-73s and R-27Rs and ERs, so this will be extremely effective, and you'll even have a pretty decent ground loadout. So this thing will be an absolute beast, and should also be able to maneuver quite well. Now, for Great Britain, we aren't really getting all too much. I mean, this is a very top-tier centered patch. There are some, like, low-ish, really mid-BR vehicles that are being added, but this is going to be pushing top tier much further than it was prior. And in that style, we have the Challenger 3P. This will be the new top dog in the Great Britain Ground Forces tech tree. Has access to the DM-53, really nice night vision, I believe Gen 3s, and it will have access to up to 1,500 horsepower for around 66 tons of weight. So pretty much this is almost kind of like a Teutonic Challenger 3 in some ways, because it does have the L55A1, which is the same as what we see in the Leopard 2 A7, so pretty cool in that regard. And we also have, of course, the Challenger 2 OES, operational entry standard, that will be coming as the premium pack, or actually not a premium pack, but rather a G-based vehicle. 9,450 Golden Eagles right now, and will have just... okay ERA along the side, nothing too fantastic. Now, it is important to note, with the Challenger 3, as of yet, it does not have any additional armor packages that you can put on it. So the armor will technically be a touch worse than what you might get on this. The mantlet is a little bit better, but otherwise the overall armor, at least if you want to consider additional armor, will be a touch worse. Then, of course, as I mentioned before, we will be getting the JAS 37C for Great Britain. It is not currently on the dev server, but it might come on a second dev server, and I'm assuming will likely be in this line, but again, we'll have to wait and see. But they will get the JAS 37C, or 37C Gripen, and it will have the helmet-mounted display based on what they said in the dev server, the dev stream. Next up, we have the Orion class, the HMS Orion. Pretty cool. That will be a 9.7 BR Dreadnought-ish battleship. Pretty cool. Powerful, no anti-aircraft armament, unfortunately. Japanese will be getting the Type 99, which will pretty much be like a kind of a better version, I guess you could say, like a more advanced Type 75. Apparently, its shells will be better, so these are lower velocity than they will end up being, so that's pretty cool. It will be a pretty powerful tank destroyer, or... It will be a pretty powerful tank destroyer, sorry about that. Yeah, I get gifted things as a content creator on the dev server. Pretty damn cool. This will be a very powerful tank destroyer, of course, with HE, and the thing is, with HE, they can kind of be up-tier proof in some ways. Now, when it comes to the air portion, we are getting, of course, the F-15. It will be in the same exact area as the same line as the F-4EJ Kai, and will come directly thereafter, and this will have arguably the best air-to-air missiles in game with the AAM-3s. This has IRCM, or IRCCM rather. It's got 40 Gs of overload. It's got great range, well, relatively great range, all aspect. It's got good TNT filler, missile guidance time, pretty much everything that you need. It will be better than the AIM-9M. This thing will be fantastic. And bear in mind also, we do not yet have camouflages available on the dev server, so we will have to wait to see camos, but this looks great. They always have great camouflages, Japan, so I am really stoked for it. They're also getting a coastal vehicle, a motor gunboat, the Asago, the YTEA1. It's cool, I guess, but it is just a coastal boat. I mean, how many people care about that? I mean, I really don't care too much personally, but if you guys want me to do more naval, let me know. Now, one of the surprises here is that China is getting a VT-4B. They're getting another top-tier tank. I'm genuinely surprised by this. It will be very powerful. It's got what seemingly very powerful and effective armor. It's got ERA. So this is all based on what this is saying. This is a gigantic block of ERA. Now, I'm not sure if by hitting it once, it'll just kind of be destroyed and not usable anymore. It kind of is indicated that way. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be actually composite armor. But again, it is saying that's a gigantic block of ERA. Very weird, but we'll have to wait and see if that's actually accurate here. Otherwise, this is your pretty standard Chinese top-tier tank. It will have, I believe, Gen 3 thermals, laser warning system. Got the DTC-10-125, which is obviously very powerful. Just an overall very good vehicle. Not incredible engine power, but overall still a pretty decent power to weight ratio in the upper 20s. China will be getting the J11, which is pretty much an Su-27. Let's go ahead and look at this here. So again, this is just an Su-27. Now the thing is with this is apparently this is literally a copy-paste model. They even said that in the dev server. This is literally, as of right now, copy-paste. So they are going to be updating this probably by the second dev server, definitely by the time the live server comes out, so that it's more accurate to how the Chinese have it. But this is currently just a copy-paste model, so bear that in mind. Otherwise, it does have the same exact armament, more or less. Rather, instead of the R73, this has the R73E, which basically indicates it's an export variant. So cool vehicle, nothing all too outstanding, pretty much just the Su-27, but for the Chinese. Now, Italy doesn't have anything popping up on the Army helicopters. By the way, as far as I can tell, there are no helicopters coming in this major update, at least thus far. Nothing has been mentioned. When it comes to Italy, they did mention something on the dev server, but there's nothing here in the, or not on the dev server, but rather the dev stream, but there's nothing here presently on the dev server. Bear in mind, again, a lot of this stuff is incomplete, and a lot of the stuff, like the JAS-37C, that is really incomplete, they're not going to add it to the dev server, at least as of yet. So it's very important for you to realize that. So France is getting a new ground vehicle. It's very interesting. Oddly enough, somebody pointed this out in the trailer for this update. It's kind of cool. It's very strange. Has like basically a whole crew here in the back seat. I mean, it's just a very strange vehicle overall. But apparently these are essentially the same as the cannon on the R3T20, except you get two of them. So it should be a very effective vehicle overall when it comes to anti-aircraft. But otherwise, at least as of yet, we're not seeing anything additional besides that in the French ground forces. Now, of course, French aviation is a bit different, and we are getting the Mirage 4000. Beautiful aircraft, twin engine Mirage, really just, I mean, look how great that thing is. And this is the standard camouflage, by the way. Now, bear in mind, this is a prototype vehicle, so of course it will have a weird, cool camouflage like that. Makes sense. And this is going to be its approximate loadout. Of course, the R550, Magic 2s, and you can also have this. I don't really know if it's going to be all that incredible. You will have to equip these pods, unfortunately, in order to actually use the flares or chaff countermeasures, which won't get in the way of missiles, but they will get in the way of some of the weaker bombs, unfortunately. But, it's not all too big of a deal. This will be a pretty effective aircraft, and based on what I saw on the dev stream, it will be able to fly vertically pretty much from the get-go. Very, very fast. One of the fastest aircraft, actually, insofar as acceleration is concerned in War Thunder. Next, we have the Cor Bay, which will be a battleship. This will be a 6.3 PR French battleship. Cool, 1914, or 1920 rather. I mean, what else can you really say about it? Cool vehicle, but it is naval. And unfortunately, the way naval is, because they're so huge, there aren't really too often, like, experimental ships, I mean, they do happen, of course, but it's mostly, especially from that time, you have a class of battleships. You have a class this, that, and the other thing. There's not really all too much difference between the ships. And even between some generations of ships, there's not a big difference. Next up, we have the Stridsvagon 122B+. This is a new vehicle, of course, with the Swedish Ground Forces tech tree. I'm not entirely sure what exactly is different here. It does have the Slippers M95, however that's pronounced, I'm not entirely sure. But it is a slightly advanced. It doesn't have that crazy top-mounted commander sight, unfortunately. But this is a bit different compared to the the previous model. And then, of course, the Swedish get the JAS 39A, the Gripen. They have their own version, and this is something that we can actively see now. Now, this thing is incredibly maneuverable, and will have access to a whole host of weapons, but for the most part, will basically be AIM-9Ls and AIM-9Ms. Now, the AIM-9M, very good vehicle, or very good weapon, in my opinion, but it won't really have all too much. I mean, you have your RB-71s, but that's pretty much it insofar as radar-guided missiles are concerned. Then, of course, you can go after ground targets. You have TV-guided ATGMs, which is cool, and then you have bombs as well. Very cool vehicle. I think it'll be very useful. This kind of seems like an F-16-ish type plane, maybe a bit more maneuverable and a bit less speed, but still should be similar-ish to an early F-16 variant. And unfortunately does not have helmet-mounted display. Then, of course, we have the Israeli Ground Forces tech tree. We have the M113A1 TOW. This thing is very incomplete. It's basically just your M113 TOW. It's only going to have TOW or ITOW missiles. I mean, what really more can you say? It's just an ATGM launcher. You have your Roshev, which is pretty much just an Israeli version of the M109. Slightly better. It does have more guns on it. I believe maybe a touch more armor or touch better armament, but that's pretty much it. You know, this is a short barrel. This is a long barrel. Then, of course, you get to Aviation, and this is the final variant of the F-15 that will be in War Thunder. You have the Baz. This will be pretty much a Python carrying F-15. That's more or less about the main difference here. You can get the Python 3 or the AIM-9M. Really, I mean, I would probably use the AIM-9M, but Python 3, if you use it, is it really all that much of a big deal? I think they can turn a bit harder, but they don't really resist flares as well. So it really depends on whatever you'd prefer. But again, this is more or less kind of the just an Israeli F-15, more or less, again, with Python 3. Just kind of spoke in circles there, but either way, that's pretty much the dev server. Again, very top tier oriented. There's nothing really low tier about this dev stream or about the upcoming update, unfortunately. So we are just getting a bunch of top tier vehicles and some new improvements as well, but mostly just a bunch of top tier vehicles. So that said, let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Definitely consider liking, commenting, subscribing. I appreciate all of it. But either way, thanks again, and I'll see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.